Hi, we're very glad today to have the CEO of the company Wagler's Resources, Mr. John Black, here with us today to give us an update. Wagler's Resources is a company that we've been following for a few years now. So glad to have John with us today. How are you, John, doing?
Doing well, Gilbert. It's great to see you again and a good opportunity for us to catch up.
So I think it's been a few months now. Maybe you can tell a bit about yourself during these days and also about the company. How's the company preparing for all this time?
Well, like many companies, we've had to kind of change our plans and work from home during this period of time. When the news first broke, we were right on the cusp of beginning our drilling program, and in the exciting new Antinorte project in the north part of our of the Antiquary project area. And so with that drill programs is on hold until we can begin to commence that quite soon in the future now. Our first step in is to focus on getting our people safely located and everybody in position. But once that happened, we began to take a close look at what we could do. And there is a silver lining in this, in that we've been able to catch up on a lot of work that sometimes we don't have time to get to. We delay, we put out there, and we found some kind of innovative new ways to interact within our team and also to interact with other investors. A good example would be that we had some excellent meetings at the BMO conference in Florida and at the PDAC. Met with a number of interested companies that want, or banks that wanted to learn more about the project. And we had actually arranged to have site visits, 2 windows a month for the months of March through June, where we would be on site hosting those visits. Obviously, that hasn't been possible. But what we've been doing in place of that is hosting virtual site visits. So we'll have 2 to 3 or 4 hour technical sessions with interested parties in which we go through all the details of the project. And that's been quite helpful. It's not quite the same as stepping on the property and touching the rocks, but there's a lot that companies can learn and follow with us on what we're doing then. So we've been taking advantage of that, and also just a lot of interaction within our team, a lot of training with our team, and laying the groundwork so that when we begin drilling soon, we'll be able to hit the ground running hard.
Yeah, glad to hear that you're still staying active during those times because some companies just probably first slow down, not doing anything. So the exciting time is now almost there. So investors will probably ask, so when do they expect the phase two or the next set of drilling will resume? Do they have a time set time
Absolutely.
frame?
As I mentioned, we received that permit in February just before things closed down, and we're all poised to start the program. The situation in Peru has been that there's been a very strong lockdown in Peru for quite some time. They took strong actions, knowing that their health system was not as robust as it could be. Despite those strong actions, there are quite a few cases in Peru right now, and it's a concern. But the economy needs to be open and running too. So Peru's in that stage now where they're beginning to open up activities like mining and core activities and allowing them to go forward. But you need to do so in a cautious manner. And so legally and by federal directive, we can begin work now. This week, we began to have our staff in our offices in Cajamarca. We will be allowed to drill, but we need to establish protocols that allow us to do that safely. And more importantly, we need to be working with the stakeholders, the communities where we work, to make sure they're comfortable with our work. We don't want to rush in and drill just because we can and end up upsetting local communities who are concerned about their health with very valid concerns. So we're closely working with them to lay that groundwork, discuss where we house our people, where we have our activities based from, how we provide adequate protections both for our team and the communities that we work in. And that's moving along well. We anticipate that we'll be drilling towards the end of August or into early September. We'd all like to be going sooner than that, but we believe it's more important to do it safely and well planned so that when we start up, we can go continuously from there.
Yeah, so I hear you. So safety is the most important thing, of course. And so for the drilling, do you want to, the purpose is to expand your resource after that? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, as you recall on the project, we already have a fairly sizable resource. We have over 500 million tons of quite attractive copper gold grade mineralization, which is part of an even larger deposit when it's combined with the copper gold sulfides that our neighbors have on their ground. So we have a great start from that's very, very interesting project by itself. But what the new area at Anto Norte offers is a possibility for us to substantially increase that resource by extending it to the north. At Anto Norte, we have a series of very interesting geophysical targets that have never been tested that have the potential to host additional copper skarn mineralization. So possibility of effectively a major extension to our known mineralization, and that would allow us to increase the proportion of the overall district that we have under our control. Eventually, the Antacory project will likely be consolidated into a district play with what the ground that's held by our neighbors, and we want to increase our hand so that when that consolidation happens, we have the strongest position possible.
Great to hear. Yeah, so let's talk about the end game here. So we all know that you've successfully sold your last project to the major, and so you want to repeat that here. So let's say everything according to your plan. How far away from here onwards until Regulus reach that critical stage to be taking out, at least be seen by some of the major companies to have that interest to take you out?
I can describe our strategy on this. There are things that we can't exactly control, so there's not a specific date on this. But we do like certain aspects of this project of that happening sooner than later on it. Our general strategy is to identify a project like this, drill it out and show the full size potential of it, and then de-risk it by advancing it through a preliminary economic assessment and a pre-feasibility stage. And by doing that, we demonstrate to major companies that there's an attractive, economically viable, very large, very long life mine. The Antacory project is showing all the indications we like to see to have that happen. So we're well on our way to showing the full size of the project. Soon we will begin to do more of the de-risking activities, including advancing it through PEA and pre-feasibility type level work on this. The slight change to this project is that because it's a portion of a larger project that's connected to the neighbors on it, the neighbors are already mining the oxide cap over their sulfides. And they run out of ore in 2025 on the oxide ores, and are beginning already to make their plans to make a brownfields transition from a medium-sized heap leach operation to a much larger copper gold sulfide operation. And we believe that the ground we have at Antacory is a key part of that story to go forward. So in many ways, we have an operating joint venture next door to us that consists of Buenaventura, Southern Peru Copper, and Espro operating the Comalaiche joint venture. They're the logical group that could acquire our position to set the stage for that much larger operation. But they're not the only group. It's nice to have an obvious interested party, but you have to keep the tension up with attracting other suitors on this. And in our situation, it's the size of the overall project is such that it is very easy for us to draw the interest of parties that might want to acquire our position to become partners with the joint venture next door. And that may even be attractive to the joint venture next door to have additional partners to help with the financial investment to make this into a large mine. So we're already drawing interest. We have quite a number of parties, as I mentioned earlier, we have quite a number of parties that are monitoring what we're doing from afar right now, but trying to get down to the ground and see it as soon as we can. So it's the project's drawing interest. There's a natural timeline of about 2025 when this project could make a transition from a brownfields operation, oxide operation, into a much larger copper gold sulfide operation. So we like that because it creates a focus, a timeline focus for us to have this go forward. So we would anticipate that in the next year or two, we'll have this project ready to show the full value on and be drawing pretty serious interest from a variety of potential partners.
Yeah, great to hear that news too. Let's just talk about overall commodities market. Obviously, Regulus is a company focused on copper mainly with some good credits. What's your thoughts on the supply and demand side? Is copper entering a new bull market? Because your company reacted with the recent rise of the copper price too.
Yeah, we appreciate this copper price right now. I kind of view it as two stages really on this. I think most of us are aware that there's a looming potentially extreme copper demand supply gap emerging. The existing mines are lowering their grades and producing less. We're not very good at putting new mines into production. And demand is increasing primarily due to electrification of most aspects of our lives and even increased use of copper for medicinal purposes and as a way to prevent spread of bacteria and viruses. So as we see increased use for copper and decreased production of copper, it's logical we'll see that gap open up. We see that gap really as being several years out from now. Almost at the time when we'll have the project ready to go. So we think our timing could be very, very good on this. What we're experiencing right now is an increase in price, most likely due to shortages and production disruptions. There are challenges on the production coming from Chile and other areas. And when those potential disruptions occur, it helps the copper price. So I don't know that the current copper price increase will last for a lot longer on it. It's very, very welcome. I would kind of anticipate that we'll see it stabilize around $3 or so now. But the real event is coming up in another year or two after that. That's when the current crisis at some point will pass and we'll get back to a more normal economy. And that's when that supply gap is going to hit us strongly, and there will be a shortage of copper, a logical increase in copper price, and many companies will be looking for the exact type of deposit that we're working on and presenting to them as an opportunity.
Yeah, great to hear that. And my final question for you is an interesting one. We got quite a bit of investors investing in gold already in the past 6 months, of course, as a gold market. And so they want to start to diversify their portfolio into copper. They've seen the long-term merits in copper. So what do you have to say to them? Why do they have to invest in Regulus compared to some of your copper peers?
Okay. I think we've talked about the groundwork for potentially an increase in copper prices that will cause major companies to be looking for assets like this right now. When they look for an asset, they look for large, long life, economically robust assets. Those are the type projects that major companies are interested in acquiring. And it's not just copper companies anymore. Many of the gold companies are increasingly interested in looking for copper assets that have some element of gold production to them. And that's encouraging to us because many of the inbound inquiries we're getting are actually from some of the major gold companies as well. It increases the pool of interested parties for us. These type of projects are very rare. As an industry, we're not very good at finding large copper deposits anymore. And there are even fewer of those in the hands of juniors. So there's only a small handful of junior companies that have assets of the quality of our Antiquary project. And what I really like about our opportunity is that clear timeline. It's really more of a brownfield situation. So that focuses the timeline on when there's likely to be increased interest and competition to acquire our position. So we're on to a great project. We're a team that has drilled one of these out and successfully sold it before on it in the same country, in the same commodity. And we think we're back onto an even more interesting property this time that has a more clear timeline on it. So the end game to me is much more clear on Regulus and the Antiquary project than many other copper stories.
Thank you for your time today. We're looking forward to for next 6 to 12 months, looking at your results in the drilling and all the other activities as well. So thank you for your update with us, John, today.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Gilbert. Look forward to catching up again in the near future.
Yeah, take care. Thank you.
Bye.